Hello friends and welcome. Patch 7.34b just came out, which I'm very happy with because I had literally just started working on the video to tell you about the most broken OP supports to play to gain easy MMR with, and some of them got nerfed, but actually some did not get nerfed. So I'll give you a sneak peek on which supports I think are still looking really good even after this patch. But we'll just cover the highlights because a lot of these are just small buffs and nerfs to heroes that either weren't doing so hot or some that are doing way too well, right? We'll cover the big stuff. Item changes, there's only 2. Glimmer Cape, I think you don't even have to think about this, guys. It is a nerf, obviously 2 seconds off, but when you want Glimmer Cape, when you need Glimmer Cape, it is still going to be the item you purchase. It's the only thing that offers like this magic resistance invis for supports, and it was a good item. It's why the nerf is fair in my opinion, so when you need it, you'll still get it. Spirit Vessel, Double Crown was the new recipe, now gone already. It's now Crown and Fluffy Hat. Instead of giving 12 all stats, it'll just be 6, and it'll give 125 health now. This, I think, is a nerf, obviously, into the stats of the item, especially for universal heroes like Invoker and Venomancer really like this item, but the item is 200 gold cheaper. So in general, it's now easier to buy this item, just that much more easy. Like 200 gold, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, I promise. So I think heroes that aren't universal will be kind of okay with this. They're saving a bit of money to work towards the next item, even if the stats are a little worse on this. But universal heroes, they'll still get this when they need it, but they're just a little more sad about getting it because it used to give 12 all stats, which is really nice. Abaddon's getting a buff to Mist Coil. I don't know if it'll fully bring back Abaddon support. Like, I think you can do it if you want, right? But I don't think it's going to be like top meta. Could be wrong, we'll have to see, because he's going to take less damage when casting it, and there used to be a pretty busted Abaddon build where you would just spam Mist Coil in the laning stage, but it's when he could deny himself. So I think this is good for support Abaddon if you like that. I don't know if it's like broken, but I'm open to seeing it. People haven't been doing this build in quite a while, so maybe there needs to be some testing there. Slight nerf to Earth Spirit. He was one of the big winners when Rolling Boulder makes him invulnerable. I mean, it still does, but it's now going to take a little bit more time before the invulnerability starts. So you can now interrupt him, damage him in that like 0.1 extra second, but it also means his like actual, oh, I want to stun that guy, let me roll right away, right? That's actually also delayed a little bit. So maybe it'll mess up some Earth Spirits. They'll miss a couple stuns until they get used to this, but it also means you have to be like a little smarter. Like, where's this guy in, 0.6 seconds plus roll time instead of 0.5? It is a small nerf. It will lead to like some misses. So I think that's fair because he's been doing pretty well. He's a hard hero, so his win rate maybe doesn't look like broken, but it's because he's very difficult. And people who can play Earth Spirit have been very happy with the change to Rolling Boulder. And then Enigma, we are renaming Demonic Conversion to Demonic Summoning. Goodbye, iconic skill. But this buff is pretty interesting to me. It's getting 400 cast range instead of just summoning next to Enigma. I'm pretty curious because in the laning stage, there's lots of little pathways in the trees. And now if Enigma is chasing you because you're, being affected by Malefice, you're getting stunned up, he might now be able to just put the Eidolons in front of you and body block the path. So that could be really powerful in the right situations, along with the fact that it's almost 50% off now, which is crazy at level 1. So it went from 140 mana to 75, and that also includes health cost. Now at max level, it's only 20 cheaper, but I mean, that's still not bad. He has some pretty high mana costs, so anything off is good for him. But I'm very interested in this. I expect to see some really cool like body blocking stuff with this 400 cast range. Invoker was a very big winner from the last patch, becoming universal and then all his changes. So a couple things are being adjusted to him. Base armor being reduced. Wex is no longer going to work on items, which I think is fair because combining this with Octarine and his 25 talent was giving insanely short cooldowns on items. So that's going to be removed. Ghost Walk, these regen numbers were absolutely nuts, and they've literally been halved, or a little less than halved for the health regen. I think that's all fair. I think the numbers are still good, and interestingly, he won't actually regen if he's been taking player-controlled damage in the last 3 seconds, which I think before dealing with like a Venomancer or a Viper, they hit you with their spells, you go into Ghost Walk, and you're like, I don't care. But now you do care because you're not going to regen until those dots end. So that is a pretty big nerf to Ghost Walk, which I think was fair. It was pretty insane. It's essentially going to take twice as long now. So like before, in like 10 to 15 seconds, he's like full health, full mana. But now it's like 20 to 30 seconds before he is at that point. So it's just more downtime for the hero who just like stopped going to Fountain. He would just cast Ghost Walk. And I'm guilty of this. I was playing Invoker support, and I am sad to see him nerfed, but I think all of this is fair and deserved. Lina, I'm curious. Now 1 extra second on Dragon Slave. Let's say you max this ability first. It means you do 420 damage every 8 seconds as a support, and if you take that 10 talent, even lower. So I'm pretty interested on that. I will test it. I haven't yet. I'll let you guys know. Luna's Eclipse is 30 seconds lower cooldown at level 1, but keep in mind a lot of people skip that level 1 ult anyways until you can take like level 1 and level 2 next to each other, since you're kind of getting points in glaives and the lunar blessing anyways. But level 2 ult is still 20 seconds off, 10 seconds off at max level, and that is pretty nice. But maybe less impactful than when you first log in. You're like, 30 seconds off, that's crazy. It's because she doesn't even use it at level 1 right now. But maybe it'll come back. Maybe with this, maybe people will still start using it again. The Marcy nerfs in the last patch, they were bad. I don't think they were as bad as I was like worried they were going to be, but it was still generally bad. She's now getting buffed. 1 extra punch per burst in Unleash. I'm having like a hard time exactly imagining the impact of 1 punch, but I think it is actually quite a big deal, right? It's like essentially you have your level 2 ult now at level 1 in terms of the number of hits. This might be bigger for core Marcy, who gets like all the extra damage and like on hit effects like a basher, right? She really appreciates the extra strikes. Support Marcy will still get more damage and lifesteal out of it, so it's still like good, but this seems like a core Marcy buff more so than support to me. Repel being brought down, I haven't tried it myself yet, but it's pretty much like a BKB every 36 seconds. So, maybe he needs a little more buffs, but I feel like Omni is one of those heroes that will quickly go from like, he's not worth it, super broken. So we're going down 9 seconds on max repel. That's quite a lot. So I'll wait and see on that. Phantom Assassin and Riki were both really big winners from the last patch. They're both getting a series of nerfs. I think they'll all still be fine and on the good side, but just maybe not such like, these are the broken cores right now. Sand King has pretty much the highest win rate, tied with Witchdoctor after the last patch. So series of nerfs across the board, in particular Sandstorm move speed, which was turned to 100. That was a new concept. It is now 25, 50, 75, 100. So it's much slower in the laning stage, which I got to see it in action. And so like what he could do is Sandstorm near the creep wave and then like shift his way over to one of the pull camps and like farm that as well, all within one Sandstorm. But now it's going to be harder because this thing is moving slower. So I think that's fair because his win rate was nuts. But I think it's still interesting to have it move around. I think that's like a cool concept. Other things just getting like nerfed overall. And then this 15 talent, I actually don't know if this is a buff or a nerf, because the moving Sandstorm is, in my opinion, a big part of why he became so good. He is losing the Sandstorm radius, which is like sad, but the Sandstorm now moves faster, so I actually don't know if there's a buff or a nerf for the 15 talent. Slardar is good. I don't know if you guys got to see it, but like Slardar Mid is very interesting to me. I hope it stays. He's losing a bit of damage on Bash of the Deep, but this is all damage he never had before, so I think it'll still be pretty good. I hope it doesn't go anywhere because I really like the idea of Slardar Mid. Undying, when he uses his shard to pick people up and put them in the tombstone, they'll now be stunned for 3 seconds if the tombstone gets broken and they don't get out in time, I guess. So I think that's fair. Like when Phoenix uses Ags on someone, they die. So a 3-second stun, I think, is a good risk for someone who just got saved. They're about to die, right? There needs to be a risk element there. And I think 3 seconds is a fair amount. Losing a bit of bonus move speed, but I don't think that's a huge deal. Vengeful Spirit is getting a big buff on Magic Missile. The max level before was 1.4 second stun. Now that is level 1, and max level is 1.7. 1.7 doesn't sound like the most insane stun duration, it's not, but Magic Missile is a pretty low cooldown ability, and it can bounce once you pick up the shard. So I'm pretty hyped about this. This combined with her W buff in the last patch, I think she's like, I think she's viable. She's maybe not broken or anything, but like these are all good. So I'm pretty happy. She's really been out of the meta for such a long time. I'm really happy to see like another buff and maybe another buff and another buff, and then like, oh shit, she's super OP. What did we do? We just gave her too many buffs. Like maybe we're down that road, because right now I think she's actually just I think this is good. I think she's viable now. These warlock buffs do not bother me. So I think warlock was a really good pub support. He was one of the people I was going to make in the video to tell you guys to play and just max Q, and I still think you can. So 10 attack speed is sad. You have really long attack range as warlock, so it's a good way to poke, and that will be sad. You'll do less damage. But this imp movement speed I don't think is a big deal, because in my opinion, a lot of the ways like the imps would spawn off fatal bonds are like they spawn and explode right away because all the creeps are next to each other and stuff like that. So there were situations where imps would chase people down, but I don't think it's like a huge deal. It's obviously like somewhat of a nerf, but I think you can still play warlock. Max Q was being very effective for me. I felt very strong in the laning stage, got a lot of farm by just like using Q to like farm from either the creep camps after stacking them, or like farm the waves from like the sides, like Q and then hide, stuff like that. I think it's pretty good. I'll make a video on it in the future, since these nerfs are not enough to deter me. Wyvern buff could be good. I don't play much at first, so I don't have a great feel for it, but it's going down to 6 seconds and it's cheaper. That seems pretty promising. Witchdoctor, one of the highest win rates, tied with Sand King, like I said earlier. So nerfs across the board. Base damage down, intelligence gain down, attack range down on Death Ward, and the cooldown going up quite a lot. But I think all of this is fair because I have no idea who did the math on the Death Ward going from physical to pure, because it was insane. It was literally like double the damage in certain situations. So I think all these nerfs are fairly reasonable to work with the pure damage and BKB piercing element of Death Ward. These are all nerfs. I don't know if you guys were aware, his win rate is at like 59 or 58%. So these are severe nerfs that I think will lead him from being the most broken support in the game to just a really good support. I think he'll still have like, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what it'll add it to, but I suspect it'll still be well over 50%. So I wouldn't be too deterred by any of this. Obviously, nerfs, but pure damage on Death Ward is still really strong in the mid to late game, and he's always been a hero who's even better in the lower brackets because people don't split from the stun and the Death Ward and all that. So if you've been having fun with Witchdoctor, I think he'll still be great, but just, worse. The 3 hard supports I was going to tell you to play that I think were like the best were Witchdoctor, which, just got nerfed. We'll have to see where he falls out. I think he'll still be good, but maybe not, broken if you're only interested in MMR. Warlock, who did get nerfed, but I don't think it's that big of a deal if you are interested in it. Like Warlock, I think he's really good, just max Q to get a lot of farm, powerful laning stage, and then, he's just classic Warlock, really strong in the late game, which a lot of low-level pubs, high-level pubs drag on to. So it's just like pub nature is why Warlock's always solid. And then the last one is Nature's Prophet, who didn't even get touched. Let's go. So I think he's really good. Check out my video on it if you want to know more details on it. Obviously, there are griefer Nature Prophets, and I think they are keeping the win rate down. So it looks like, oh, Nature's only at like 50%. Guys, he gained like 8% win rate with that Sprout buff. So if you know what you're doing, I am convinced he is like pretty solid. He obviously has his weaknesses and stuff, but like I think he's really good for pubs from what I have tested with him. So I'll try to get more out on him in the future, but those two still look promising. Nature's and Warlock. Witchdoctor, we'll see. Let me know if you think there's someone else who now like gets to go up there. I'm still testing out a lot. These patches were pretty big, 7.34 more so than 7.34b. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you think is great, what you think is bad. I will be trying it out, and we'll have more videos, of course, so keep an eye out for those. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.